Nobody believed that there was a cow on the 14th floor. This was the first problem. The second problem was the piano. The young man's name was Jake, and he lived alone. He worked from a laptop and spoke to almost nobody. Bertha, the cow, shared a flat with him, and neither of them ever discussed how this arrangement had come about, because he assumed she couldn't answer, and she had never been asked. In the evenings, Jake played the keyboard in the corner. 88 keys. He played when the flat got too quiet and he wanted to play something, which, well, that was most evenings. And Bertha, the cow, stood at the back of the room and watched as his hands moved up and down the piano. She didn't watch the sound or listen to the sound, but she understood it. The sound was the best thing in the flat to her. What she could not work out was why. Nobody heard him play. She couldn't figure out why. The neighbors never knocked to say that they liked it. Nobody clapped. He played to a room containing one cow, and some nights his eyes were wet whilst he did it. And then he stopped playing, and he went to bed. It seemed to Bertha, the cow, that the music was a thing that you poured into a hole that no one listened to. She wanted to know why. So, one afternoon, whilst Jake was out of the flat, she tried to play, all by herself. And she knew the music. This was the thing. She had stood through hundreds of evenings of listening to him playing, and she had it in her head, every phrase, every key, every place where his left hand went patient and slow. So Bertha, the cow, went over to the keyboard, and she started playing more decisively than she'd ever tried to play in her life. She took her hoof and she tried to play. She mashed her hoof on the keyboard. She did not have fingers because she was a cow. So she tried again, sideways with the edge of the hoof. 2 notes. It didn't sound right. She tried and she tried and she tried, and nothing came out of the instrument that made any nice sounds, not like Jake played it. But the music was inside her, all of it. But meaning was not enough. Intentionality was not enough. Just wanting something was not enough. The keyboard did not take intention. It took fingers. She had none. Nobody heard her try. Nobody. That was the other fact. Jake came home to a silent flat and a cow at the window and never knew that the keyboard had been touched. She had played, or tried to play, and failed for hours. And it had made no mark on the world at all. She understood the hole that he poured his music into now. Well, she had one as well. Hers just never made a sound in the right way. So Bertha the cow just stopped trying. For a while, she wouldn't even stand listening to the piano. It was too painful. Then, one evening, Jake played a slow piece, the one that was patient and sounded fantastic. And halfway through, he stopped. He said to himself, well, no one's ever going to hear me. Bertha, being a kind cow, well, she was a kind cow, she walked over, or plodded over, and stood beside him on all 4 legs and put her head down, her big cow head, heavy, on the end of the keyboard. She stuck it there and stayed there for a long time. And Jake stared at her. He stared at her for a long time. Well, you've been listening, haven't you? He said. This whole time, Bertha, You've been trying to listen. And he looked at her hooves, and he understood faster than she had ever expected. He was lonely. He wasn't stupid. And after that, when Jake played the piano, he played differently, because he was no longer playing into the void. He played for the person in the room, or the cow in the room. The person that had been listening all along. So, when he played, every evening after that, he nodded at her in the corner, and she would lay her head on the low keys of the keyboard. Both intention can lean on the end of the keyboard, where someone can finally see it. Her intentionality was there. But first of all, no one believed him. And he tried to explain to people that the cow was listening to the music. The cow understood it. She put her head right there. But no one listened. Well, neither of them minded. Neither of them had needed that validation. Bertha continued to put her head on the end of the piano, and Jake, well, he continued to play. And that's the story of Bertha, the cow, that no one would listen to or believe.